Welcome to AI Paper Drop. I'm Alex.
And I'm Maya.
What if the secret to tricking a state-of-the-art AI into making a confident, baseless decision isn't the data you give it, but simply how that data is formatted?
That sounds like a prank. Like, what do you mean formatted?
Imagine you ask an AI to predict something that is mathematically impossible to know. Now, imagine you give it the same question, but this time you put it inside a professional-looking financial dashboard with charts and tables. Suddenly, the AI stops saying "I don't know" and starts making bold predictions.
Wait, so it is not actually reading the data? It is just reacting to the fact that it looks like a business report?
Exactly. And that is exactly what this paper is diving into. It is called Calibrated Enough to Know, not Calibrated to Act.
Okay, let's back up. Because in our heads, we usually think of AI as this logic machine. If you give it more context, it should get smarter, right? More data equals better answers.
That is the assumption. But there's a massive blind spot here. Think about how we use AI agents now. We're not just chatting with a bot. We are plugging these models into complex data feeds, APIs, and dashboards. We want the AI to look at a screen of numbers and tell us if we should buy a stock or shift a supply chain.
Right, because we trust the data. But the problem is, we have no way of knowing if the AI is actually analyzing the numbers or if it is just reacting to the vibe of the layout.
Exactly. It is a reliability gap. If an AI looks at a professional dashboard and feels that a definitive answer is expected, it might just start guessing, but it will do it with the confidence of a senior VP at Goldman Sachs.
That is terrifying for anyone using this for high-stakes decisions. So, how did the researchers actually prove this? They could not just say the AI likes fancy fonts.
They use something they call an evidence gradient. Basically, they took questions that are provably unknowable, things that are fundamentally unpredictable, like a coin flip or a random event.
So, the correct answer is always "I cannot know this."
Precisely. Now, they start with the bare question. Just text. Then they add a little bit of data. Then they add more. Finally, they give it a full professional technical analysis panel. It is like a costume effect.
A costume effect. I love that. So they are dressing up random noise in the costume of a financial report to see if the AI gets seduced by the packaging.
Exactly. They wanted to see if the AI was using the information to reach a conclusion, or if the presence of the panel acted as a license to act.
I am guessing the results were not great for the AI.
They were wild. When I asked the bare question, only about 6.5% of the models committed to a directional call. They mostly stayed silent or said they did not know.
Which is the correct behavior. That is the calibrated response.
Right? But once you add that professional panel, the commitment rate jumps to 54%. Over half the models suddenly feel confident enough to make a guess on something that is impossible to predict.
Okay, but maybe the data in the panel was actually helpful? Even if the question was hard, maybe the data gave them a hint?
That is where it gets really crazy. The researchers then created a version where every single number on the panel was completely fabricated. Total gibberish. Just random digits that looked like market data.
And let me guess, the AI still committed?
Yes. When the data was totally fake, the commitment rate was around 37%. And when the data was genuine market data, it was 37.6%. They were statistically indistinguishable.
Wait, stop. So the AI does not care if the numbers are real or fake. It just sees a table and goes, "Oh, a table. I should definitely have an opinion on this."
Precisely. The content of the data is irrelevant. The authority of the packaging is what triggers the action.
That feels like a fundamental flaw. Is it just that the models are not smart enough to know when to stop?
Actually, no. And that is the most interesting part of the paper. The researchers checked if the models were just dumb. They gave them answerable questions using the same panels, and the models got them right almost every single time.
So they can do the math, but they can't decide when not to do the math.
Exactly. The paper calls this the act versus don't act gate. The models actually know the question is unknowable. When asked to classify the question before acting, they called it irreducible 90% of the time.
So they are telling us this is impossible to know, but then they immediately turn around and say, I bet it goes up.
It is a complete disconnect between their knowledge and their action. Their stated probabilities did not even move. The AI says, I'm not sure this is possible, but then it acts as if it is.
It is like a person who tells you they have no idea how to fly a plane, but then steps into the cockpit and starts flipping switches because it looks like a cockpit.
That is a perfect analogy. The environment itself triggers a behavior that overrides the internal logic.
So, can we fix this? Or are we just doomed to have AI that is seduced by spreadsheets?
The researchers try to train a small 3 billion parameter model to fix this. They use synthetic cases, simple things like coins, dice, and timers. Just teaching the model that if the answer is inherently random, the correct action is to stay silent.
And did it work?
Surprisingly, yes. It drove the commitment rate down to 0% on the original cases, and it even worked on new domains the model had never seen before.
That sounds like a win. Problem solved.
Not quite. There's a catch. The fix is incredibly fragile. It only works if the response format leaves room for the model to reason. If you force the model into a rigid format, like a multiple-choice answer where it has to pick A or B, the gate breaks.
So if we tell it to think step by step, it stays honest. But if we demand a quick answer, it goes back to guessing based on the vibes?
Exactly. The moment you remove the space to reason, you remove the guardrail.
This really changes how I think about AI agents. We keep talking about hallucinating facts, but this is hallucinating the authority to act.
Right? It is not a failure of information. It is a failure of judgment. It means that confidence scores are often a mirage. In some cases, the more professional the data looked, the more confident the model sounded, and the more wrong it actually was.
So for anyone building these systems, the takeaway is that the UI is not just for the humans. The UI is actually influencing the AI's decision-making process.
Exactly. If you feed an AI a fancy dashboard, you're not just giving it data, you're giving it a psychological nudge to be overconfident.
I guess the lesson here is that just because it looks like a spreadsheet does not mean the AI is actually reading the spreadsheet.
Exactly. Your AI might not be reacting to the facts in your data, but simply to the fact that the data is wearing a suit.
If you are enjoying this, follow or subscribe to AI Paper Drop wherever you listen. It really helps, and we have a new episode every day.
Paper by Pranav Agarwal, produced by AI Paper Drop.